But obviously, we did the roll call, salute to the flag, and we started a budget presentation with Mrs. Rukoff, and she's going to start over again. Hopefully, take two. Hopefully, our computer system won't crash like it just did a few minutes ago. Okay, Mrs. Rukoff, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to present for your review the proposed budget for 2013. The proposed tax rate for 2013 is 7.22 mils, the same rate as 2012. There is no tax increase proposed for Falls Township's residents. This rate remains the lowest tax millage rate in the past 20 years. 7 tax funds make up the total millage rate charged to township residents. The general fund is the chief operating fund of the township at 2.63 mils. The street lighting fund is used to account for the cost of electricity and the maintenance of highway and street lights located in the township at 1.2 mils. The fire protection fund helps to support our local fire companies at 1.25 mils. The fire hydrant fund is restricted to expenditures for the maintenance and repair of fire hydrants located within the township at 0.24 mils. Parks and Recreation is restricted to the development of recreational programs and our township parks at 1.26 mils. The Fallsington Library Fund helps support our local library at 0.14 mils. And the Rescue Squad Fund helps support our local rescue squad at 0.5 mils. That brings our total millage rate to 7.22 mils. While the overall millage rate has remained the same, there has been a redistribution of a small portion of the general fund millage to increase the rates for street lighting and the fire hydrant funds in order to cover their operating costs. For every tax dollar paid in 2012, only 4 cents was received by Falls Township. The balance was collected by the County of Bucks and the Pennsbury School District. Residents' tax dollars are used to provide a full range of municipal services, including police and fire protection, construction and maintenance of streets and storm sewers, recycling, residential solid waste pickup, zoning regulations, building inspections, park and recreational activities, and the maintenance and replacement of streetlights. Contributions to fire companies, rescue squads, and the library that serve Falls Township residents are also funded through your real estate tax dollars. What do the services cost our taxpayers? Based on an assessment of $30,000, a Falls Township resident can expect to pay $216.60. This is by far the lowest cost of our neighboring municipalities. Some highlights of the 2013 proposed budget. The 2013 revenues are made up of reliance by the general fund on the host community fees of $10,200,000, reliance by the general fund on resource recovery fees of $950,000, and additional revenue projections include our local services tax at $400,000, cable TV franchise fees at $710,000, real estate transfer taxes at $555,000, building, electrical, and fire permits at $636,000, and state pension system assistance at $480,000. Our budgeted expenditures from the general fund total $16,484,400. 58% of that amount, or $9.5 million, is used to provide police services for our community. Some 2013 proposed capital projects. The 2013 road reconstruction project is budgeted at a total cost of $6.2 million. 2013's road program calls for the full-depth reconstruction of 7 roads in the Yardley Farms and Hedgerow Woods sections of Falls Township. They are Valley Road, Peaceful Drive, Bernard Drive, Rice Drive, Floral Drive, Walton Drive, and Fletcher Drive. The 2013 road program also includes milling and overlay of 12 township roads, including Bernard Drive, Christina Court, Anna Marie Drive, Angela Avenue, Laura Way, Lesha Drive, Rice Drive, Andrew Drive, Mark Anthony Court, Kirby Drive, Hedgerow Drive, and Howley Drive. Our Public Works Department anticipates the completion of additional milling and overlay projects on Rue Court and Worcester Road at a projected cost of $45,000. Design and engineering costs for the proposed new municipal complex have been budgeted in the amount of $1.2 million. The development of Phase 1 of the Biles Island Master Plan is budgeted at $507,000. In an effort to move toward paperless offices, a document management program including the creation of an index database, the archiving of old records, and the implementation of a system that allows for daily use and updating has been included at a cost of $148,723. $445,851 has been budgeted for various police purchases. These include computer equipment, firearms training and supplies, and various other equipment. The budget includes $200,000 for the purchase of cameras to be installed at various intersections throughout the police department, throughout the township to aid the police department. $1,135,973 has been budgeted toward the replacement of all Motorola radios to comply with the federal mandate, otherwise known as the narrow banding mandate. For the Falls Township Community Park, $77,144 has been budgeted for the purchase of a wooden equipment shed, the construction of a fishing pier at Phase 2, and a 2-phase goose management campaign. $175,000 has been set aside for improvements at the intersection of the Mill Creek and Levittown parkways. The Public Works Department is in need of a new dump truck with a plow and a spreader. $150,000 has been budgeted for this purchase. An additional $120,000 has been budgeted for Public Works equipment, including a truck-mounted attenuator, an asphalt zipper, new vehicle radios, and mechanics software updates and specialty tools. The total 2013 budget, including all revenues, expenses, and fund balances, totals over one of my slides ended up being hidden, totals over $91 million. Based on the proposed budget, a total of $37,834,724 is projected to be spent in the year 2013. The budget schedule for 2013 includes tonight's discussion, an advertisement of the 2013 budget on November 26th, additional budget discussions from November 20th to December 18th, public inspection of the proposed budget from November 26th to December 18th, and adoption of the 2013 budget at the December 18th Board of Supervisors meeting. And that concludes our presentation of the 2013 proposed budget. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see if board members have any comments or questions, and we can open up for public as well. Again, we're looking to just advertise the budget tonight, so it'll be available in more detail for people to inspect. And obviously, we have one more meeting in December, early December, and then a meeting in middle of December where we will adopt the budget. So we have plenty of opportunities for people to make comments and ask questions. Mr. Galloway, for either Mrs. Rukoff or Mr. Gray?
No questions. I just look forward to the public comment. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
No questions. The only comment is very nice job. I know a lot of work went into this.
Mr. Rocco?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Yeah. And I want to thank Mrs. Rukoff and her staff, Mr. Gray, all the department heads, and board members. There's been a lot of discussion over this budget, looking at where we wanted to sort of put our focus in next year, and so we had a lot of back and forth over the past month or so, really kind of looking at a lot of details. So I appreciate everybody's efforts to get this to where it is tonight. Okay, if there are no comments or questions, I'll have open for board comments, or excuse me, for public comments, or motion to open.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Mr. Kenny?
I'll get up and say. Another nice budget, young lady. You do a good job. Keep it up.
Mr. Mariani?
Be real brief. I bumped into Mr. Gray, and he told me that they were getting ready to do the budget. I gave him an advantage of how I used to do a budget, and I'll do the same thing for Ms. Rukoff. We used to remove all things from the budget. Remove all things. You allow only those things that you cannot live with to return. And I think if you did that, you're going to find a couple of $1 million easily here if we put that into practice. The only disappointment I have here, well, there's a couple of more, but there was no provision to expand our tax base in this budget. And I think we've got to get moving on that. I really do. We've got to expand our tax budget. We cannot continue to rely on host fees, which is exactly what we're doing. And my final question is, am I reading this right? Host fees are anticipated to be somewhere around $10,200,000. And are we going to use, from what I'm looking here, the entire $10,200,000 to support our budget?
Mr. Gray? Or Ms. Rukoff, either one.
The host fees from Waste Management for 2013 are projected at $13.5 million.
$13.5 million?
Yes.
And do we anticipate using the entire 13.5, or are we saying we're only going to use $10,200,000?
We'll be using $10,200,000 to support operating costs in the general fund and other projects, and we will be using the balance of that money towards the road program.
So we're going to use the entire
Yes, sir.
host fees. We're going to use it again this year like we did last year.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Please consider again some provisions to expand our tax base. I keep saying that it's a very difficult thing to do. I understand that, but you've got to do it, and you're not going to do it in a year or two. Why don't we start now on some kind of a progressive basis? We really do need the income. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? See no hands or motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I appreciate the comments. Would I guess point out in terms of expanding the tax base, obviously all we can do is try to attract businesses to Falls. I think one of the things we can do, and we have done, and other boards before have done, is to keep taxes as low as we can, which of course helps attract businesses. If they're taking a look at the property taxes, like Mrs. Rukoff has showed, they're seeing that there's already extremely low taxes. Improving the road system, a top-notch police force, a public works. Obviously, renovating this building is part of what we hope becomes a renovation of the entire Lincoln Highway, from the intersection of Oxley Valley Road as far up as we can get it. So that's something we're looking at. Our Community and Economic Development Commission is also looking at recommendations to make improvements to this corridor, which we think is something that it could be updated infrastructure-wise. I mean, the traffic, everything, it could be looked at to hopefully make this more attractive for businesses to settle. So it's things we're working on. It doesn't necessarily show up as much on the slides, but it is something that we do focus on. So, but I appreciate the comments. Okay, we've had some board comment, public comment. We're looking to authorize the advertisement of this budget, and just remind us again where people will be able to access this budget if they wanted to see it, Mr. Gray.
This will be on the website, the Fallsington Library, and here at the Township Building.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to authorize advertisement of the 2013 budget as presented?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you again,
Thank you.
Mrs. Rukoff. Okay. Second item on our agenda is to consider a temporary waiver of section, I gotta work my Roman numerals now, 4C of amendment and restated solid waste agreement dated September 20th, 2005, to permit waste management to accept solid waste from Hurricane Sandy for disposal at the disposal facilities via waterway for a period of 180 days. As we obviously are very well aware, Falls Township suffered some damage from Hurricane Sandy, but not nearly as much as anywhere near as much as people down the shore or in parts of New York City. And that waste, that hurricane has generated a tremendous amount of debris. A lot of buildings have to come down. A lot of homes have to be taken apart and to come down. And that waste is piling up and needs to go somewhere. And so I know there are some people here from Waste Management to explain exactly what's going on here. Mr. Clark, did you want to address this?
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Late last week, I was contacted by the attorney for Waste Management, Thomas Jennings, regarding the contact that they have had with, I believe, the City of New York and New Jersey regarding taking some of the debris from Hurricane Sandy and depositing it in the landfill in Falls Township. One of the requirements, or one of the issues, was that this trash would be coming into the township via the Delaware River by the port. And the host agreement, the solid waste management agreement, contains a prohibition in Section 4C that does not permit disposal or transportation of trash to the landfill by waterways, by the Delaware River. The most recent agreement entered into by the Township and Waste Management was entered into in September of 2005, and that prohibition remained, although both Mr. Jennings and I were involved in the negotiations back in 2005, and neither of us can remember that prohibition ever being discussed. It seems to be a remnant from one of the earlier agreements that just seemed to get continued. We checked, we're not really sure why it was put in there originally. I think, as most of us know, Mr. Jennings has had a long history with the agreements dating back to when they were originally entered into, and even he doesn't seem to remember exactly why. But in order for this to happen, we need to amend the host agreement, and we have drawn up a first amendment to the amended and restated solid waste management agreement, which would allow for the temporary disposal of solid waste at the disposal facilities via waterway from today's date for a period not to exceed 180 days. From Waste Management this evening here tonight is Tara Hemmer, who will speak briefly about everything that's going on with bringing this trash in, how long they anticipate it will last, and approximately how much tonnage they anticipate will be coming into the Groves landfill over the next 180 days.
Okay, thank you for the summary. Ms. Hemmer? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, my name's Tara Hemmer. I'm the Area Vice President for Waste Management of the Greater Mid-Atlantic area, which of course encompasses the Groves Tullytown complex within Falls Township. And just to echo some of the previous comments, Waste Management was contacted by FEMA. Obviously, there's been this unprecedented disaster, Hurricane Sandy, where there's an inordinate amount of storm debris that requires cleanup. And it's really sort of taxed the trucking network. Given New York City and New Jersey's proximity to the waterways, the FEMA folks who are tasked with really putting together the entire cleanup are viewing barging as probably the quickest way to remove material from these impacted communities. So we have had some preliminary discussions both with FEMA and then also with Pennsylvania DEP on how a barging operation would work to barge the debris to our deep water port, which is directly adjacent to our Groves landfill. I just want to emphasize a couple of things. This would be we would be seeking a temporary authorization to proceed with this, both from PADEP, if Pennsylvania DEP approves it, as well as from Falls Township, again, for a period not to exceed 180 days. That's, of course, going to be dictated by the duration of the cleanup. If it is shorter than that, then of course we would only proceed for the time period that it takes to move forward with the cleanup. Any of the barges that would be coming to the facility would be completely covered, and we would be working with Pennsylvania DEP on the approval to bring that material in. The waste that would come in would be disposed of at our landfill just as it normally would, so in the normal course of business. And we're anticipating no more than 1 barge per day. And just some context, the barge, it really depends on the type of barge, but the barges could hold anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 tons of material. So within, of course, our permitted capacity. With that, are there any questions?
Okay. Questions for Ms. Hemmerer regarding this operation and any of the details? Mr. Galloway?
I was around back in the 80s when there was a lot of debate and talk about barges bringing trash up the river. And I understand this is not even close to the case that we're talking about back then. And I feel it's important that we do our part to help with the situation in New Jersey and in New York. So I commend your efforts, and I hope you have success in helping them with the cleanup.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Dents?
I sat in on a meeting last week here in this building where we were assured that the process where everything would be covered, trucks going onto the barges, obviously to protect the river, which would be everybody's concern. And we've been assured that every precaution has been taken. The need for this, the amount of stuff in North Jersey and New York is unbelievable. Just trying to get anything down from up there, the traffic nightmare. I can't imagine what they're trying to do to truck this stuff out. So it only makes sense to use barges to bring it down.
Yeah, exactly, Supervisor Dents. I failed to mention that this would obviously minimize truck trips into the facility.
I'm in the construction business. I know we're trying to get anything from North Jersey right now. It's almost impossible. Communication isn't even working correctly with up there. So I think it's a good thing for now, a temporary 180 days. That's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Rocco?
Yeah, is there an estimate of the total debris? I know it's probably hard, but do you have?
You mean just in general? That's in
that you're looking to bring in, or that you're.
Well, I mean, I think it's going to depend. The barges that could come in would be anywhere from 6,000 to 10,000 cubic yards, which would hold anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 tons, like I had mentioned before. So, if we at the peak, if we were going to take 1 barge in per day based on a 5 or 6 day week, that would be 30,000 tons a week. If it went on for 30, 60 days, you could do that math.
Right.
At this point, we would need to work with the FEMA contractor to get a better sense on how much material they would be interested in bringing in via barge.
And when would it start if we approved it in Pennsylvania and FEMA?
Right. I would say if it was going to start, it'd be probably sometime in December, but that, of course, depends on your approval and Pennsylvania DEP's approval.
Right. And does Waste have experience barging in debris?
We do. We have we run several operations on the West Coast, in the Alaska and Seattle area. We have a couple folks who are experts in moving waste by different modes.
Okay, great. That's all I had. Thank you.
I just wanted to add that I know that my brother's sitting down there with the contents of his house in his driveway, and the sooner we can help him get it out of there and into our landfill, the better my family will feel about it. Thank you.
Okay.
And I guess it's kind of interesting. Mr. Dents said something that might have thrown people off. Maybe they thought they didn't hear him right, but they heard him right. The idea of trucks driving onto the barge to get trash and come off again, and obviously raises the question: how big are these barges? It's roughly, just from looking at the schematic that we've been given, roughly the length of a football field.
Right, they're roughly 100 feet long.
Okay, that's different. All right.
Yeah, 100. I'm sorry. Excuse me. 100 feet wide. I'm sorry.
Okay.
100 feet wide by three or 400 feet long.
Yeah, so
And
it's,
you're back.
yeah, right. I'm looking at the numbers here. Okay, but yeah, it's so it's
A big boat.
it's a big barge. Let's see. I think all the questions I had were addressed. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't really think so. Open up for any public comment. If any public comment needed. See one hand. Motion to open public comment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah, I think I have
You have to use, sorry, Mr. Mariani, you have to use the microphone.
I think I have something that's directly related to this, and during this past storm, I would say that Thornridge took the hardest hit. I think we all agree with that. My wife and I are residents of Thornridge, and the primary cause of all that damage and all this stuff that we have here, I think, and the outages that it caused were due primarily to falling trees. Now, Thornridge has an abundance of pin oaks, and I think this is why I'm saying this is probably related. And these pin oaks are not the oaks that we think of 200, 300-year-old, these gigantic trees. They have a lifespan of about 70 years, maybe 80 years on the outside. A lot of these trees are well into the process of dying. If you drive through the area, you'll see that, and you'll see falling branches and some heavy limbs. And these pin oaks have fibrous and very shallow root systems. So what I'm thinking of, the high economic cost that these trees have caused our township and the residents is reason enough for this township to invoke some safety measures to avoid this kind of thing in the future and avoid these kind of excesses that we're going to have to contend with. I think these trees should be treated like any other hazard to the safety of our residents and to our property, and I think they should be subject to inspection by township authority. I really do. And to determine what their condition is, because a lot of people have these trees, and some of them are way past their normal life cycle. Some of them are diseased, some of them are hollowed.
Mr. Mariani, I'm sorry, how's this, I'm sorry for interrupting, how's this relate to the waste management agreement we're talking about here?
I think it's what caused the problem that we have. That's why it's related.
I'm not sure. This is, what we're talking about here is just amending an agreement that would allow them to bring waste up the river, not waste from falls, waste from someplace else.
Okay, then I misunderstood. I thought it was waste from falls.
No, it's not. This is waste from...
I was saying that's one of the
Yeah.
ways we could avoid that.
Yeah, it's waste from New York and New Jersey, and that's what Mrs. Hammer was saying, that, you know, because of the proximity
Okay.
of the areas to water, it's just much
Okay.
easier to put it on barges and barge it up to Delaware.
I thought we were talking about removing some of the excesses that we
No.
had here.
No.
I think that the township really, though, ought to take a look at these trees,
Okay.
and we ought to inspect these trees, and where it's necessary, have them cut down, have the homeowner do it, or redo it, and build a homeowner. They're
Okay.
dangerous.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry I misunderstood.
All right. Any other public comment? See no other hands. Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so,
Mr. Harvey, if I
Yes.
could, just one other point. I know the issue hasn't been raised in the audience this evening, but anyone who's watching this knows that the township receives, under the agreement, we receive payment from Waste Management for each ton that is deposited in the landfill. And the question may be asked, are we getting more per ton because is Waste Management getting more than they normally would under the circumstances? And with information provided by Mr. Jennings and on research that my office did, Waste Management will be receiving their normal fees. They're not in any way getting a premium for taking this waste, this debris from New York or New Jersey. So they're getting their normal fee, so we'll be getting our normal fee per ton also.
okay, thank you. All right, so we're looking to consider a temporary waiver, section 4.c of amendment and restated solid waste management agreement dated September 20th, 2005. to permit Waste Management to accept solid waste from Hurricane Sandy for disposal at disposal facilities via waterway for a period not to exceed 180 days. Is there a motion to grant that waiver?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, item 3 is a public comment. See a couple names on the list. Mr. Kinney, you're up first. Mr. Kinney?
Kissing her?
I believe you're up for public comment.
Hey, man, I'm talking to the
Yeah, well, there's a meeting going on here, not scheme dating.
You on me. I'm old. Roland Kenny, Falls Township. Public Works, Fire Company, Police Department needs to be commended. They did a fantastic job during this storm. Like an awful lot of trees fell. And your trees along Pennsylvania Avenue that I wanted to take out and you wouldn't let me. The branches come down, hit our fence, open it up. Luckily, I was tall enough and strong enough still to tie them back. I think we're going to need some repair. You people and the people across the street ought to take care of them trees, not us. I want to take them out and put pretty trees in. But it's the way you want it. I want to congratulate your brother on a victory that we all knew that he would win. And Mike Fitzpatrick won. And that's as far as I'll go because I got hollered at from the wife. I'm not to say anything else, so I won't. See me in private, and I will. Good night. God bless you.
All right, good night. Mr. Mariani?
Let me finish what I had started to say in
Sure.
error. Okay.
All right.
About the pin oaks that we have. They're a problem. I think if the township would exercise the authority to determine the condition of some of these trees, because I'm telling you, they caused most of the damage that we had, including the outages. I think if the township inspects these trees, you're going to find that a lot of them are beyond their normal life cycle. A lot of them are blighted, and a lot of them are hollowed, believe it or not. And I think they should be removed, as I said, either by the owner, and some owners are a little bit reluctant to do that because of the cost. They are expensive to remove, or by the township, because I regard this as really a public safety issue. I really do. And my question to the board is, on the supervisors, what is your position on an issue like that? Do you regard it, as I do, as a public hazard? This Thanksgiving, we really do have to be thankful. No one, God forbid, was killed. But it says something for the future. Please check these trees out. A lot of them are dangerous. They really are. And I'd like to know what your position is on it. Do you think that the township should exercise some authority? It's like any other hazard that's out there. So I'd appreciate an answer. Thank you.
Okay. As for myself, I know we have a shade tree commission with some very, very bright people and experienced people on it. I don't know how they would feel about if their expertise extends as far as to sort of just if they could give some kind of review. Aside from that, we'd have to hire somebody to come in, an arborist or somebody like that. But the women we have on the Shade Tree Commission are very, very bright women and have a lot of experience in this area, so they might actually keep us from having to spend that money on some outside consultant. My personal feeling is that if you have a tree on your property, it is your property, and so the primary responsibility rests with the homeowner, whether or not they're going to take it down. I think in a lot of cases, sometimes we're asked here at the township to do things for people on their own property that, is interesting. It's extending our powers a little bit beyond, I think, what they're supposed to be. The responsibilities of a homeowner, if you own a property, whether it's a residential, commercial, whatever property it happens to be, you have responsibilities for it, whether it's shoveling snow, clearing up debris from yard waste. We've had a couple of complaints just in the past couple of days from residents whose neighbors have just, done nothing with their properties, regardless of the storm. And the properties are in just horrible shape. And there's a limit as to our powers because it is still their property, and they have the right to do on their property almost anything they want within reason. But my personal feeling, I don't know if we want to start looking at that, but in terms of going around and cutting down people's trees for them, our staff can't do that. They wouldn't do it. We'd have to hire an outside contractor to do it. It's not something our public works guys are comfortable doing or equipped to do. Especially not those size trees. If it's something smaller,
I'm not asking them to do it. I'm saying have it done through the township authority.
But
I think the township has authority when it becomes a public safety hazard.
Well,
And a lot of these trees are hazards. Look,
no, I see the ones. I saw the ones that were cut down and fell across the roads, and I saw them cut into pieces, and they looked really healthy inside. They weren't
Well,
hollowed out inside. So
trees die from the top.
Well.
So as far as authority goes, you can tell me I have to repair my pavement. Okay, it's a tripping hazard.
Right.
You have the authority to do that. It's on my property. I believe the township has the authority to come in and say, this particular tree is a hazard. It's dead. It's dying. It's going to come down.
Yeah.
It's going to kill somebody.
we can do that, and we actually have done that in the past, not in Thornridge necessarily, but I know we have done that in the past at some places because it was just very, very, very obvious that the tree was dead, falling over.
There are trees out there now that are obvious, and they're dying from the top. And if you drive up and down through those streets, as you do, you'll eventually see large limbs and all, and they're falling from trees that are diseased and trees that are way beyond their life cycle.
Okay. Well, I've said I'll let other board members speak if they want to. I've said
I
kind of
think
my
you
thoughts,
do have
but-
the authority, though, to have an attorney there. And
I think asking the Shade Tree Commission is a good start, like you said. I mean, people get funny too. Not everybody wants the trees off their property.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
the expense is where it becomes a problem.
We had the same conversation when we toured the neighborhood. And it is a question of it. They're on people's properties. Even if Levitt planted them there, they bought the property. It is their property. And it was a once-in-a-lifetime storm. I think the fire marshal had to restate that for me because you can overreact to what did occur. It was something that I've never seen before in my lifetime and hope never to see again.
Yeah, I lived in Thornridge and actually had one of the trees taken down. I had 3 trees. I had one taken down. I think it was like $1,500 or something. So it's not cheap. A lot of people can't absorb that cost.
so we do leave the tree there and I have to kill somebody? Jeff?
If there's trees that are dying, we have told people they have to have their trees removed, obviously dying.
And if I could say, there's a difference between a tree that is on a property line that endangers a member of the general public who may be driving down a street or walking down a sidewalk or a neighbor, and a tree that is on someone's property. And probably one of the basic tenets of living in this country is that you're free to do with your property what you want as long as you're not violating codes or endangering other people. What Mr. Mariani is suggesting, first of all, would be incredibly expensive, and we are probably not permitted to go in and say to somebody they have to take down a tree on their property because at some point in time it may fall on their property. I think that's going beyond the police powers that we have to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public at large.
You're saying because a tree might not live through another hurricane that we may not or may not see again for another 100 years, right?
And that is part of it also, Mr. Galloway, that to determine, because many trees that came down in this storm were very healthy trees that were just blown over by incredibly high winds and consistent winds. So I'm not sure where that line would be drawn. Obviously, again, if you have a tree that's dying, it's on the side of the road, it's a danger, it may fall into the roadway, we can do something along those lines. But if a tree is on someone's property and there's no indication that it's a health, a safety hazard to anyone else other than the property owner, I don't see where that authority would come from to tell them they have to take it down.
We're not talking about those.
So one of the things I think we can do, and I think it makes a good first step, is to approach our Shade Tree Commission, get their thoughts on this issue, and see where they stand and what they're comfortable doing, and then we can certainly revisit it. And as we said, we've had people complain that a neighbor's tree is dying, it's leaning over their property, and we've gone out and told the property owner, you have to take this down. So we can do that, but that's a very clear case. So that's that's something we can do, but certainly we can't go through Thornridge and start telling people this one, they all have to come down. We don't want to do that. And you drive through a lot of Levittown sections, in Falls and Bristol Township and Middletown, and a lot of the original trees are gone. And it really is something unique about Thornridge. I wonder if there are any sections of anywhere in Levittown, in all 4 municipalities, where so many of the original trees are still there. But it is certainly something that, as Mr. Galloway said, we did talk about and think about, but we're trying to measure that with the powers we have, and as Mr. Galloway said, the intensity of that storm and the unique nature of it. So, but, all right, those are all the names I had on the public comment sheet. Okay, we'll move forward. Okay, I think Mr. Rocco has to go to his
Good night. Thank you.
family business, so thank you very much for coming. Okay, item 4 on our agenda is consider waiver of land development for J.B. Hunt, 95 East Cabot Boulevard, tax parcel number 13-3-9-007, excuse me. Mr. Gray.
Yes, as mentioned, this is a waiver request of land development for J.B. Hunt. They are doing an office building expansion. As mentioned, tax map parcel 13-3-9-007, located at 95 East Cabot Boulevard. They are proposing to remove an existing modular office building and replace with a new 1,680 square foot modular office building. Representing the applicant is Mr. Stanley Hassel from J.B. Hunt Corporation.
Hello, my name is Greg Holston from BL Companies, and I'm the acting agent for Stanley Hassel from J.B. Hunt. So as you've mentioned, we're here tonight to look for approval for the minor building expansion for the current workforce there for a better work environment. So if you would like, I could give you a brief presentation, or
Sure.
we can...
The easels are, I apologize, easels are normally set up, but because of the budget presentation, we took them down, so feel free to kind of put
Or
those
if
where
you-
you'd like them, and you can show the members of the public, and
Two boards for tonight's presentation.
and Mr. Olds, just so you know, you are going to have to carry that microphone with you, and just give us an idea of basically what you're doing, why you're doing it, and address, I guess, some of the issues, some of the things that were brought up in the subdivision land development ordinance, the review letter from November 13th, 2012.
Sure, we can do that. What we're looking to do here is, our client, J.B. Hunt, is along the Norfolk Southern Rail Lines, which is located right up the street here. What they're looking to do is they have an existing trailer, and they want to do a minor building expansion. Basically, they're going to remove that trailer and replace it with a larger trailer. It's a quality for the existing employees. There's 5 existing employees. It's just a bigger work environment, so we're not adding any new employees. Currently on the site, they have water, sewer, electric, all the utilities are there. This is in the gated community. This is Norfolk Southern. They have their own police force, so there is no impact to health, safety, or welfare of the neighbors or adjoining properties. They are in the light industrial district. This overall parcel is over 90-some acres, and that was just this parcel here. We have a nice little illustration here showing we're in this little dot here of this overall parcel. I'm going to move now to my site plan. We have worked with the township, Joe Jones, and we have addressed his comments. Some of the things he was looking for was having the access aisles paved with the addition of parking spaces. They are striped. We've also added a ADA compliant parking space, and we have a ramp system that gets up to the building. We've also added some green space here to mitigate the expansion of the impervious coverage from the building, and we have exceeded the amount of pervious coverage with impervious coverage. So that eliminates all the stormwater questions and everything of that nature. I believe that we have met the requirements of Falls Township, and I'm looking for approval for the plans.
Okay. All right, comments or questions from board members? Mr. Galloway?
I was just looking through the report from Mr. Sullivan, and if I'm correct, it seems like they've addressed all your concerns?
They have. There are 3 waiver requests included in the resolution that we're okay with.
All right, thank you. Then no further questions.
That was my question as well. So I have nothing.
Okay. Yeah, it's obviously, as you said, it's a very large parcel. You're doing a pretty minor change to the parcel. It is industrial. It's not, it really has no effect on any neighboring properties at all. And Mr. Sullivan, you said you're fine with the everything that's in here, conditions, everything else?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay. This would be resolution
12-25.
12-25, which would grant, and I apologize, we actually don't have the resolution. We actually don't have the resolution from
Waiver. It's a waiver of land development, Mr. Harvey.
Waiver of land development.
Yes.
So, so it's all right, so we're granting a waiver of land development to JB Hunt Office Building Expansion, tax map parcel 13-3-9-007, 95 East Cabot Boulevard.
And I'll make that motion.
Seconded.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
That's fine right there. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Dude. Meet your client too. I'm sorry. Your client is fine.
Dude.
Can we get that? Can we send that to you?
No.
You need to know.
You need to sign it right now.
Okay, item 5 on our agenda is consider authorizing advertisement to the records ordinance. This is revising Chapter 206, subsection 7, specifically listed as prohibited acts. And I know Ms. Gallagher's been working on this with our police department. Ms. Gallagher?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you can recall, last year we had amended our records ordinance significantly, and this is one thing that we did not miss, or we did not amend. It is kind of implied in our ordinance that the records are not allowed to subcontract their work out, such that if the township calls a duty tower to come out to a job, then that duty tower is expected to show up to that job, not some other record that may not be on our duty tow roster. This just serves to clarify that, so that now it's specifically put forth in the ordinance that any subcontracting or calling an unlicensed tower to report for a job is not permitted under the ordinance. And if we find that a tower is doing so, they'll be subject to the violations and penalties provided in the ordinance as it is.
Okay. And just as a review, if there is an accident, if there's a car that is disabled on the side of a road and falls, a police officer, if a police officer comes across that or is called to that scene, if the person, the owner of the car, has a tow truck company, they have AAA, they have somebody they can call to come pick up their car, that's fine. But if they do not have that situation, or if the car's abandoned, if there's an accident, obviously the owner of the car isn't able to sort of give direction, then our officers make a call to Up County, and we have a towers list, a list of approved wreckers, basically tow truck companies that will come and pick up that vehicle. Because they're acting on the authority of Falls Township Police, because it's Falls Township Police who are calling to have this wrecker come, we are somewhat liable for anything that goes wrong if that wrecker comes and does something wrong with that vehicle. Because of that, we have pretty high standards for the wreckers that work in Falls who make it on our list. They have to have certain types of vehicles. The vehicles have to have certain safety inspections. They have to obviously have things like insurance and certified drivers, and they have to be carrying the kinds of equipment they would need to clean up some kind of debris at a crash site, for example. And as Ms. Gallagher said, it's implied that they do not subcontract, because we don't know who they're subcontracting to. They could be subcontracting to a company that doesn't meet our requirements. And if that subcontractor does something that damages a car or causes some kind of problem, it's going to come back to us. And so we have the right to make sure that anybody who's working under our authority meets these qualifications. And this kind of makes it clear, because we have had some issues recently with wreckers who are calling someone else because they can't make it, so they call a buddy to go pick up the car that they're supposed to be picking up. And this, that's not what we want happening. So again, this is just advertising. At this point, we'll come back at a future meeting and look to approve this. Any comments or questions from board members on this before we act in terms of authorizing? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Dents?
Once we do this, this would be ready for when they reapply. They reapply every year to the towers, the wreckers.
That's correct.
In January, this would be in place so that it would just be part of the ordinance.
This would be in place 5 days after it was enacted. I believe we're going to be advertising it for the second meeting in December, so it should be in place by January 1st. The applications for the 2013 calendar year are due, I believe, at the end of November. So we'll make sure that all the applicants that submit license applications to the township are provided with a copy of this ordinance once it is, if it is passed.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Sure.
Okay. Any public comment needed? See no hands. Is there a motion to authorize advertisement for this ordinance revising Chapter 206?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next item on our agenda. We've been dealing for a little while now, since the spring, I guess, with the with the culvert that was starting to collapse over South Olds Boulevard. We've had some difficulty getting bids together that made sense to us. The first bids that came in were exorbitantly high, and so we went out to bid in a different fashion, hoping to get a lower bid for the work and for the material, or the actual equipment. So I see that we have got something here. We're going to look to hopefully approve this. Mr. Gray, you want to fill in any blanks I left? Or
Yes, T&M has reviewed the bid submitted to Falls Township and publicly opened on November 14th, 2012 for the South Olds Boulevard culvert replacement. The first bidder, there were actually 3 bidders. The first bidder was Brightline Construction, base bid of $336,173 for a total bid of $336,173. Second bidder was Bucksmont Excavating, base bid $437,790. Alternate was $7,000 for a total bid of $444,790. And the third bid was Landmark Construction Services, base bid of $442,765. Alternate $58,090 for a total bid of $500,855. Based on the bid evaluation, Brightline Construction, Inc. is the lowest responsive bidder. Therefore, it is recommended that the Board of Supervisors authorize the Township Engineer's Office to issue a notice of intent to award to Brightline Construction, Inc. for the base bid plus the alternate for a total bid cost of $336,173.
okay, Mr. Sullivan, want to add anything in here?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The base bid was for installation of the culvert itself. The alternate was for the installation contractor to provide the footings for the culvert. Brightline bid 0 for that, and they're going to do that themselves. What we had from the culvert manufacturer was a bid for the price of the culvert plus a potential alternate of precast footings. So Brightline is not going to use their precast footings. They're going to pour their own footings in place. So the total cost of the project is now $448,673, which is the installation bid plus the cost of the culvert, which was $112,500. As you stated, the exorbitant bids from the first time, we bid the entire project as one project. The lowest bidder was $605,000, which is why we rejected those. We thought it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $450,000, which it turns out it is.
And we already purchased the culvert ourselves.
The culvert, we've already purchased ourselves. And that's why we broke it into two, because of the high bid last time. They were bidding, the two bidders bid around $300,000 for the culvert itself. When we bid the culvert, it was $112,000.
Wow.
Okay. Comments?
Still can't explain that. I'm not sure what happened there.
Comments for Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Galloway?
No comments.
Okay. When this, obviously, we're looking to give a notice of intent to award, just so people can get an idea, Mr. Sullivan, because obviously, there's a little bit of inconvenience for people that travel that roadway. It still is open, but it's sort of, we're kind of redirecting traffic slightly away from the edge of the overpass there. What's the timeline here in terms of getting these guys working and getting that replaced, and how long should the project take once it's started?
Well, provided the notice of intent to award issuance is approved tonight, the bid can then be finalized after the responsible contract review period after the 21st of December. So Mr. Gray will look to get his authorization from the board on the last meeting in December on the 18th, so that he can do that. We will then schedule the installation of the culvert, which should actually only take a couple of days to get the culvert itself in place. We are going to have to coordinate with PICO to de-energize the power lines in close proximity, because a crane is going to be used to put the culvert in place. We're looking, weather permitting, sometime January, February.
Okay.
But the road should only be closed for a very short period of time.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions?
What's a very short period of time? A week?
About a week is what we're thinking. Anything that can go wrong will, but
right.
Provided we have to do this at a period of low flow, so we hope we don't get a big rainstorm in the middle of this. You don't usually see that in January, February.
So we should have this done by Super Bowl Sunday?
That might be a little optimistic, but somewhere in that neighborhood.
This has been a long time. We've been going back and forth with this.
Yep.
That's all.
Any public comment? See no hand. Okay, is there a notice of intent to, a motion to issue a notice of intent to award to Brightline Construction the South Olds Culvert Replacement Project in the amount not to exceed $336,173?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Poland, pull the board, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, engineers report. We'll go back to Mr. Sullivan. This is the October report, which is dated November 16th. Mr. Sullivan, let you talk a little bit about some of the highlights here.
We have some highlights this evening, fortunately, Mr. Chairman. The Community Park Soccer Field project is nearing completion. The small field has actually been graded and sodded, and the sod should have taken root by now. The large field is still doing some regrading. They will finish that sometime middle of next week, and then they'll be able to sod the field within a couple of days. So right now, the schedule is that both fields will be completely done, sodded by the end of November, which is a week from Friday. Senior Center, the detention basin, and storm sewer site work is about 90% complete, and this morning they started digging footings for the actual addition. Tennis court project, demolition of the tennis court and the fence was completed. The stone subbase and pavement base course was installed, and that's about all they're going to do this time of year. You can't do the color coat is very temperature sensitive, so they won't be able to do that until next spring. So they'll do the top paving course and the color coat in the spring. They may or may not, depending on whether we'll be able to do the fence. We got a submittal for the fence. We'll be able to prove that within a week or so, and if the weather permits, they'll probably install the fence this year. The 2012 road program is well underway. Storm sewer installation continues on Hedgerow and Louise Drive. PICO Gas is mobilized to the site and will be doing gas main relocations and service relocations ahead of the contractor. And if weather permitting, we'll keep installing storm sewer and gas mains as long as we can. General also has also moved over to Fallsington to do some of the storm sewer work that we have proposed in that area.
Okay.
That's all I got for highlights at this time.
Okay. Comments or questions regarding engineer's report from Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Galloway?
Yeah, just one question, Mr. Sullivan. I see that the docks were removed in anticipation of Hurricane Sandy. Where are they stored?
We store them outside the 100-year floodplain right there at the park. They're to be chained to the trees.
I'm sure they're
so
safe
they don't move
there.
around. Relatively safe there.
They're rather large. I just wondered where they would go. Thank you.
Mr. Dents?
I saw them pouring the footers today at the senior center, which was exciting to see.
Yep.
Eleanor Roosevelt Construction, I was over there the other day, and I see they still have a couple construction storage trailers there. Do we know how long they're going to be sitting there in that field? Or are they going to be removed anytime soon?
They'll be removed sometime, I would think soon, but I don't have a schedule from them when they're going to do that.
Yeah. I see they've got graffiti all over them now that wasn't there before. Maybe we can look into that?
Absolutely.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Okay, is there a motion to approve the engineer's report?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, bill list. Bills this evening for this month, the amount of $2,198,183.40. Heavier bills than usual, and the reason for that is this is the time of year when we distribute money to our fire companies, and so that's over $300,000 in terms of that. It's also obviously about 1.2 million out of the roughly 2.2 are salaries and benefits for employees. I think this month we actually paid more in for streetlights than we did for legal fees, or actually, yeah, I think it was actually almost double. We also pay the post-retirement health benefits to our police officers. Police officers who retire get money every year for their health benefits, basically for life, and that varies depending on when that officer happened to retire. So I'd see one officer who just recently retired, a payment of over $6,000 versus an officer who retired several years ago making, getting $1,800. And obviously there's quite a few officers who are getting these benefits, so that obviously raises the cost as well for this bill list. Comments or questions for Mr. Gray regarding the bill list? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Dents?
None.
Okay, I have none. Is there a motion to pay the bills, $2,198,183.40?
I'll make a motion to approve the bill list.
Seconded.
Okay. Ms. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Okay, we don't have a need for executive session. Mr. Gray, manager comment?
I have nothing tonight, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
How about that? Jeez. All right, so board comment. Mr. Dents?
Just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And like Mr. Galloway said earlier, we have a lot to be thankful for in Falls Township after that storm. Amazing that nobody was hurt, thank God. And hopefully everybody's recovering soon, those that did receive a lot of damage. That's all I have tonight.
Okay, Mr. Galloway?
No, I just echo Mr. Dents' comments. Wish everyone a happy holiday. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll say the same thing. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And also, obviously, it's impossible to ignore the fact that the Christmas season officially starts, of course, with shopping the day after Thanksgiving. Or actually, I was hearing advertisements tonight for stores that are open on Thanksgiving, which I quite frankly think is disgusting. I think businesses should be closed so that people can be home with their families on holidays like that. But I would actually encourage people, and I know this has been a couple years of not just me doing this, but other people doing this, encourage people to shop local. There are a lot of small businesses in our area, a lot of our owned by neighbors and friends, and whether it's restaurants and you're buying gift cards for people, or shopping at local stores to buy things. Not that we want to take money out of the pockets of the workers who live in our neighborhoods, who work at the bigger stores or at the mall, but we should be trying to support some of our local businesses as well. We talk about wanting to help the economy. That's a very easy way to help the local economy. is to help out our local businesses. If you just go in and buy one or two things, just it helps them out a lot. So try and think of doing that. I know there are a couple things coming up. I know there's Holly Night at Pensbury Manor, which is on the 5th and 6th of December. It's always a neat time. And also our holiday house decorating contest will be coming up. We'll be looking for some nominees for houses, so people that do a great job. We have a lot of houses that every year put up some kind of tremendous show of lights, and we like to recognize them as just helping us make the season brighter. And I know there's also going to be some festivities at Three Arches, and so take a look on the Township website, the Township channel for those events. And I think you can also follow on Facebook the Park and Rec, and they'll actually send out bulletins about events that are coming up, so you get little reminders about that on Facebook. Those of you that are on that. I don't think we're on Twitter, are we? Are we on Twitter? I think we are on Twitter.
We are.
Okay, there you go. You can look at that too. Okay, so with that, I'll thank everybody for their time and all their work to help make the meeting a success. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
So what'd you do to your